So we are recording. Let me close all these things. Okay, so here's my next video on debt repayment. And before we get too far in the video, let's look at the disclaimer. Alright, disclaimer, not a professional, but I really do enjoy talking about this about this topic. And while I am not a professional, I do have a lot of practical knowledge in this. My husband and I combined paid off a total of $120 in student debt. That is what we physically paid off. That did not include any loan forgiveness or grants or anything like that. That we paid off $120,000 in student debt, just a little over. So I do have a lot of practical knowledge when it comes to paying off debt. We also paid off a car, well, paid off 2 cars, and, we are currently in the process of, paying off a house, which is a lot of money, but not a professional. I just really enjoy talking about this. Alright, so my talking points for today. We're going to talk about gathering up your debt information, developing your plan, determining how you will track your debt repayment. I'm going to combine reality and celebrations into one slide, and then I will show you my spreadsheet and kind of walk you through how to set up your own, because I have not figured out yet how to make something downloadable for you on YouTube. Sorry, I don't know how to do that quite yet, so I'll just explain how to make a spreadsheet. Alright, gathering up your debt information. So, before you can make a repayment plan, you have to know who you owe the money to. You got to know how much money you owe. You got to know the interest rate. What your type of debt is important if you have like a student loan, because your type of student loan does determine additional ways of repayment, and we'll talk about that a little bit. You should know your payment method. Granted, most all of us are going to be paying online through a portal of some sort, or, paying directly. So, but you should still know those things. You should know your time, like when are you paying it, what day of the month, and what is your repayment length of time. And then, what do you need to do to set up your repayment plan? So I'm going to make this statement. At one point in time, I had 5 different loan companies managing my student loans. I had private, I had federal, I had some through my college, I had one through the state, and then I had, I think, a second private one. And everyone had their own way of managing my repayment plan. So with my federal student loans, if I paid extra, it automatically went to the principal. But with one of my private loans, that was not the case. If I paid extra, it prepaid for the next month. So you might need to do a little digging and make sure that if you are paying extra and you want it to go to the principal, that you have actually selected that to happen in your payment portal or whatever, because it is not always the default of a loan company. So just check and make sure that if you are paying extra and you want it to go towards your principal, that you are actually doing that. The same thing happened to my sister. It only took her like 2 or 3 months to notice it, whereas it took me like 6, but I was busy teaching. So gather up your debt information, who, type, amount, interest rates. For the most part, most of us are probably going to be dealing with a set interest rate. If you're working with a variable interest rate, sorry, that makes things kind of rough. Payment method, time, what time do you need to pay this, how long do you have to pay this, and then is there anything else you need to do to set up your repayment plan? Alright, debt repayment plan. So I have 4, and it is okay if you are at one stage. It is okay if you don't ever leave that stage. I have had friends who had no interest in paying off their debt any sooner, for various reasons. I tried to get to the high repayment plan as quickly as possible because I don't want that debt. I didn't want that debt. I wanted it gone. It is okay if you are always at the base and you only ever make it up to low. It is okay if you only ever make it to medium. These are just some debt repayment plans. I have used these ones, these same setup in the past, so I can at least talk to them. All right, base. The base is you're paying what the debt people have told you to pay. You're making your $300 a month payment. $270 is going towards the principal, $30 going to the interest. I just am using these numbers for the sake of ease. And that's your base plan. Okay? If that's what floats your boat, that floats your boat. Low, and this is the one where we actually started out as because we could not afford the $355 a month. So what we did was we made the regular payment and then we added extra to only cover the monthly interest. Okay, so your monthly payment includes two things. It includes the principal and it includes the interest. So if your monthly plan, if we're looking at the base, if your monthly payment is $300, $270 is going to the principal and $30 is going to the interest. Well, if I can't afford to make a whole extra payment in a year, if I can only afford to pay an extra $30 just to cover that interest and allow me to put $30 down, $30 extra down to the principal, then that works. That is going to help you repay your debt faster because as you pay down your principal, your monthly interest is going to go down. So that is the low repayment plan, just paying the extra to cover the interest, so that way your whole principal, that whole base payment of $300 goes to the principal instead of the $270. The medium, again, one extra payment a year, and making sure to include that extra for monthly interest. So if I want to put down, $325 a month, and I want to make sure that I'm paying down that interest, then I would be paying, $355 a month. That covers the $30 for the interest. It puts extra down into the principal, and at the end of the year, it will equal one extra payment. So that's 13 payments in a year. And then again, for the high, 2 extra payments a year, that would be a monthly payment of $380. $350 would be going to the principal and $30 would be going to the interest. And again, keep in mind, every time you pay down your principal, as you chip that away, your interest is going to go down. So if you're always putting that extra $30 towards interest, you're actually going to be slowly adding more to your principal because your interest is going to go down. Those are what I used when we were repaying our debts. We started out with low, we moved to medium, and then as we chipped away our student loans, we started moving towards high. Not gonna lie, it was a lot of work, but we did use these stages with great success. Tracking progress. Find a way to track your progress. Make a spreadsheet, have a jar, check your account portal, do something to track your progress. We as humans like to see progress. It's a psychological thing. Find a way to track it. Find a way to keep yourself motivated. When we were saving up towards a house, I embroidered this little house thing. And then when I finished embroidering it on the cloth, I stapled it down to a wooden frame. And every time we put $5,000 or we reached $5,000 in our bank to save towards the house, I added a new little star, and you can see the little stars up here. They're just little French knots. And so every time we hit a new benchmark of $5,000, I added in a little star. And that was our way of tracking our progress towards a house. And we actually still have this. It's in the front room, and we still look at it, and it is a reminder of all of our hard work that in the house. But that was one of our ways we tracked it. One of my sisters uses a jar. Every time she makes a payment to her student loan, she writes on a little scrap of paper and puts it in the jar. And, over the years, the jar has gotten rather full. That's just how she does it. Okay, my other sister just checks her account portal. Like, she just constantly checks it to see that the money go down. Find a way to track. Okay, tracking is a good thing. Plus, it allows us to deal with reality and celebrations. So, life happens. Life is messy. Life is tough. Get a helmet. There are always stumbling blocks in repaying debt, especially if you have a lot of it. Something goes awry, and that money that you were going to put towards the extra payment has to go to something else, fixing up a car, or dealing with a medical emergency, which happened quite a bit in my case. There are going to be things that stumble, that cause you to stumble in your process, and that's okay. You just have to get back on track, and that's why if we were to go back, I don't have my spreadsheets anymore from when I was paying off all my student debts, but if you were to go back and look, there were some periods of time where we were on the high plan, we were making 2 extra payments a year, but then something happened and we had to go all the way back down to low. And that's just, it's the reality of it. Jobs change, people get paid less, things happen. So be prepared for reality to happen, and don't get discouraged when it happens. For a long time, for about a year and a half during our repayment plan, my husband and I were doing the high repayment plan. We were making 2 extra payments in a year, and then we had to move. We had no choice. We had to move to a new apartment, and the cost of that new apartment ate a significant amount of our debt repayment money. We were no longer able to pay nearly as much towards our debt, and we had to scale all the way back down to low for 9 months, almost a year, and that's just the reality. So yes, it's good to have a plan. Yes, it's good to try and commit to as high as you can, but understand that sometimes you might have to backtrack. You might have to go back down. And that's one reason why I have mine set at base, low, medium, high, because sometimes we have to change gears. And with that idea of changing gears, you should celebrate your goals and you should celebrate your successes. If you pay off a loan, celebrate that. Go out, have a pizza, go out, have some ice cream, celebrate that success, and then get back to work. It's that same idea of you're going to fall, you're going to scrape your knee. All right, well, get up, put a bandage on it, and just keep going. So, don't linger on your troubles, but also don't linger too long on your successes either. If you pay off one student loan, you got another one to pay off, take that money, roll it into your next student loan, or your next debt. That's called snowball debt repayment, where you pay off one debt and you take that money and you apply it to another debt, which does make debt repayment quite easier, actually. Okay, so with all of that, we're going to go look at my spreadsheet, if I can figure out how to make my computer. Oh, good. Now it works. Ugh. All right, let's go back. All right. So I decided I would like to actually show you how to set up a spreadsheet, and then I'll show you the one I already made. So I like spreadsheets, and I'll try to make this pretty simple and understanding because I still haven't figured out how to make this downloadable from YouTube. All right, so here's my spreadsheet, my very simple one. Debt amount, how much your debt is. I'm going to pretend that my debt is $25,000 because why not? My interest rate is going to be 4% because why not? And my monthly principal is $208.33. I did some things earlier. Now, in order to determine your monthly interest, you have to actually do a little math with the interest rate. So the interest rate is 4%, but that has a slightly different calculation. So I'm going to go back over here to my interest rate. The way this gets calculated is, first off, you turn that 4% into a decimal. So we're going to put the equal sign because I'm making a formula in my spreadsheet. And 4% a decimal is 0.04. We're going to divide it by the number of days in a year. So we're going to divide it by 365. I had to think about that for a second. And I'm going to hit equals. Oh, I have it set up for percentage. I have to fix that. Hold on. I don't want this set up as a percentage. I want it set as a number. As a number. Give me back my numbers. Numbers. Yeah, I think that's what I want. Nope, I want a little more. I want a few more numbers. I'll go back. There we go. Okay, so I got a few more numbers in. So that number, that 0.000110, is going to get multiplied by the debt amount and by the number of days in a month between your payment. So, since this is Excel, and Excel is awesome, I'm going to take my debt amount, which is in block A4, and I'm going to multiply that by my amount in B4, and then I'm going to times that all by 30, and that's going to give me my monthly interest rate. Now, when I'm a little more finished getting all of my numbers, then I'll go in and I'll format this into dollar signs and things like that. But for right now, we're good. Okay. So, like I've said earlier, your monthly payment is actually the combination of your monthly interest and your principal. So, I'm just going to simply go C4 plus D4 equals my monthly payment. Okay? Now, I need to subtract this to get my new balance. So I'm going to take my A4, which is my debt amount. I'm going to subtract my monthly payment, and that gives me my new monthly balance. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to set this up to bring down the old number, so that way it can now become the current number. And in order to get this all set, I'm just going to drag my interest rate numbers down. I'm going to drag my principal down. I'm going to drag my monthly interest down. I'm going to drag my monthly payment down. And my balance. Oh, I have to drag down my debt amount too. Ta-da! Math is done. I love Excel. You type in a couple of formulas and it does all the work for you. Now, with that being said, with that math being done in my spreadsheet, it is really easy for me to do any extra calculations or changes. So let's say in 4 months, I suddenly get a pay raise and I can start paying $375 a month. Okay, I can just go in and type it in and it changes all of my amounts. Okay, or let's say I want to figure out how to pay off my debt in 5 years instead of 10 years. So instead of, when I did my calculations, because I was looking up student loan things, most student loans are set on a 10 to 30-year repayment plan, so I went with a 10-year repayment plan. But let's say you want to repay it in 5 years. So I would take that 25,000 and I would divide it by 100 by 60 payments instead of 120 payments, because you're trying to pay it down in less time. And if that were the case, if I wanted to take, 25,000 and divide it by 60, forgot the equal sign. Duh. Equal sign. Okay, so then my monthly principal would be $416. So do that. Okay. I love spreadsheets for keeping track. Super easy, super convenient. Allows me to do a lot of formatting, allows me to do some color coding. Love spreadsheets. This is my other one that I did just a little bit ago. And it's longer. I can see more of the amounts. I did these for all of my student loans. I did these for my husband's car payment. I have not done one for the house yet, mostly because the website, the portal that we use for the payment plan, actually does this for me. I just click a button and I say I want to pay an extra $200 a month to my mortgage, and it literally spits out a spreadsheet for me that I can download and play with, which actually makes me very happy. Okay, so again, spreadsheets are pretty simple. They're a nice way to keep track. When I was doing my debt repayment plan, I would regularly revisit my spreadsheets. I would look at them probably once or twice a month to see where we could do some wiggle room and see if we could get our student loans paid down a little bit faster. Because at one point, I had one block of student loans where the interest was like $120 a month. And that was just, ugh. So, I wanted to get it done and over with. But that is how easy it is to set up a spreadsheet. So again, like that's really tiny. Oh wait, this is not my touchscreen. Let's go back over here. Okay, so again, you type in your debt amount, you do your little math. Let's say my interest rate is 7%, divide that by 365, gives me my new number. Type in my principal. Let's go with 400 just because I feel like that. And again, your monthly interest is that number, that percentage turned into a decimal, divided by 365, times your debt amount, multiplied by the number of days in between payments. And that gives you your lovely number. Let's make it this way. By A14. Oh, I forgot my... No, it's not a typo. I just forgot to put the thingy in there. I'm horrible with parentheses. I'm always forgetting parentheses. There you go. There's my monthly interest. And again, your monthly payment is a combination of your interest plus your principal. So don't forget that. There you go. And then your balance is simply your amount subtracting your monthly payment. Highly recommend to at least learn how to put in some basic formulas into Excel. Makes everyone's life so much easier. And honestly, I learned how to use Excel my junior year of high school, and it has not failed me yet. Highly recommend learning how to use Excel. But that is how we tracked our student debt repayment. It's how I tracked the car repayment, and it worked out beautifully. And once you have those formulas in, it's really easy to change numbers around and just watch those numbers go. And then you can also set conditional formatting. Can I set it from here? No, I have to actually click on the the ribbony thing, and I don't want to show my name. You can set conditional formatting so that when you reach certain benchmarks, you celebrate. So I had red, yellow, green, because red was still, ugh, we have a lot of money, and yellow was, ooh, we're making progress, and then green was, we're almost done. And it got more green as we got closer to the end of it. I like color coding too, so it made me excited. Anyway, so I'm going to take these lovely videos, because I have like 3 video clips now. I'm going to take all these video clips, I'm going to shove them together and put them in and turn them into YouTube. So yeah, thank you. I think I'm going to do one more video. I think I'm going to call it Financial Situation.